Only true men can show their passion for something, like how the Viper Randy Orton can do it with Barney. Welcome to part 2 of WWE Facts with your host, Enoch Ashan Devendra. So let's get this rolling. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was the first winner of the Royal Rumble. Back then, the Rumble had only 20 men. Simon Cowell produced WrestleMania the album. Kevin Nash was the Super Shredder in TMNT 2. The costume had a cape weighing nearly 300 pounds, and they needed someone strong enough to support it while also moving around, which made Nash perfect for the role. Nash was also that guy from The Punisher. Speaking of movies, Randy Savage was Bonesaw in Spider-Man. John Laurinaitis is Road Warrior Animal's brother. Paul Bearer used to work at a morgue, a place where dead bodies are stored, which is pretty coincidental to his role with the WWE. Santino Marella won the Intercontinental Championship on his debut as a hand-picked fan from the crowd. Jerry Lawler and Honky Tonk Man are cousins. Grandmaster Sexay is Jerry Lawler's son. Kane was the first ever masked wrestler to win the WWE title. The 1994 Royal Rumble was won by both Lex Luger and Bret Hart. Without being scripted, Owen Hart broke Stone Cold's neck with a piledriver, and almost paralyzed his whole body and almost ended his career. Instead, Austin was paralyzed for 90 seconds and was hardly able to move. He barely managed to roll up, pin Owen, and win the match. The funny thing is, Austin said in an interview that the only reason he tried to win that match was because the stipulation of the match was a kiss your ass match, and the loser had to kiss the other guy's ass, and he really didn't want to do that. Chyna is the first ever female to win the Intercontinental Championship. Vince McMahon was the first man over the age of 50 to win the WWE title. Randy Orton is the youngest world champion of all time, who won it at 24 years old, after defeating Chris Benoit. The youngest WWE champion is Brock Lesnar, who won it at 25 years old against The Rock, who used to be the youngest WWE champion before him. After Brock Lesnar won his first undisputed WWE Championship match, the World Heavyweight Championship was brought into the WWE because Lesnar had an exclusive contract to SmackDown, which left Raw without a world champion, which is why we have the World Heavyweight Championship now. Rene Dupree is the youngest champion in the WWE by winning the World Tag Team Championships when he was 19 years old. Roman Reigns is a member of one of the largest professional wrestling families ever. His family is made up of a whole bunch of professional wrestlers, including names such as the Wild Samoans, Peter Maivia, Yokozuna, Umaga, Rikishi, the Usos, Rosie, and The Rock. The Rock's uncle is Jimmy Snuka, who is the father of Tamina Snuka and Deuce, who later changed his name to Sim Snuka. The Undertaker has the most Hell in a Cell appearances with 12. Triple H comes in second place with 9. They both are tied with the most victories at the Hell in a Cell with 6 wins. A lot of people get confused about who has the quickest rise to the WWE Championship from their debut. Some people think it's Sheamus, while a lot of other people believe it's Brock Lesnar, and Sheamus comes in second, and it's commonly believed to be Brock Lesnar. But actually, Ric Flair has the quickest rise. While it took Lesnar 160 days, it took Ric Flair 132 days from the moment he made his first WWE appearance to win his first World Championship. Triple H, along with Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman, who's also known as X-Pac, were all part of a backstage group called The Clique. They weren't a group on television or anything like that. They were all real-life best friends. By 1995, they had a heavy influence on the booking power in the WWF, which gave them the ability to schedule and decide who wins matches. Before Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart had issues, Bret was asked to join The Clique, but declined the offer. Then there's Curtain Call, the Madison Square Garden incident. On that night, it was Hall and Nash's last night with the WWF before they go to WCW. At the end of the night, Shawn Michaels hugged Scott Hall, who was known as Razor Ramon at the time. This was perfectly fine since Michaels and Hall were both good guys at the time, but then Triple H and Kevin Nash, who was known as Diesel at the time, joined the hug even though they were both villains. After their group hug, the 4 wrestlers stood facing the crowd with their arms raised together. The problem here was that back then, the WWF management wanted to maintain the storyline rivalries between people, and make it look as real as possible. And by having good guys and villains hug each other was a big issue, because back then people were supposed to believe the two people in the rivalry hate each other, and it's not a storyline, because wrestling being scripted wasn't really known at the time. Triple H ended up being the only person punished for this because Hall and Nash already left to WCW, and Michaels, who was the WWF champion, was one of the biggest stars at the time and couldn't be punished either. And the punishment was left just to Triple H, who was demoted from being a championship contender to wrestling inexperienced wrestlers. Triple H was also supposed to win the 1996 King of the Ring to help launch his career into stardom, but that got taken away from him as well. Instead, the winning of that tournament went to Stone Cold, which helped him start his rise to who he is now. The members of the Clique both split up into groups that were huge and headlined their specific show. Hall and Nash were part of the NWO, and Triple H and Michaels were part of DX. They both even have spray-painted logos. Well, that's it for WWE Facts Part 2. I'll see you next time on WWE Facts Part 3, and have a nice day.